Christmas, you can plan on me. Please have snow and lots of mistletoe and presents round the tree. Hi everybody, I'm feeling the holiday spirit. It is Sunday with Ally for December 16th, 2012, the Barbra Streisand Videocast, and I am Ally Waldman, your host. Anyway, welcome to this week's edition, and it's very, very exciting. Like I said, I'm getting in the holiday mood, but I'm also getting in the mood for the guilt trip. Today, it's only 3 days until the official opening of the guilt trip. As you know, I went to see a preview, and as I reported, it's an excellent movie. I give it a definite thumbs up, and I'm very, very excited, and I think you're going to all be very excited when you see it as well. So let's start talking about what happened this past week, okay? I guess I'm going to start with the positive, because that's where I come from, the positive. Barbra was on Dr. Phil with Seth Rogen. Dr. Phil did sort of a segment about, first started with a young man who's considered a mama's boy because his mother keeps bailing him out of trouble. So that little 15-minute segment was somehow a setup for Seth and Barbra talking about the guilt trip. Now, the really good part about this interview was Dr. Phil clearly loved the guilt trip. He gushed about it. I mean, he was really excited about the movie. He actually probably gave away more than you might want to know before you see the film, because he was so excited. He loved Barbra's character. He loved Seth's character. He loved how the characters changed through the journey that they go through. And it was a very, very positive thing for the guilt trip. As for revelations that came out in the interview, it's been a week filled with Barbra revelations. We found out about, I told you, we learned about the Marlon Brando trip to the desert, looking at the wildflowers. Then we also found out in a preview of the Piers Morgan interview, which was supposed to be on Friday, but they've rescheduled it for Monday. But we found out in that preview that Barbra said she could never be in love with a Republican. Now, I understand that perfectly, because I don't know about you, but politics is a big deal in my life, and it would be very, very difficult to fall in love with somebody who disagreed with me politically all the time. So while it may sound outrageous to some people that Barbra was honest enough to admit that she could never love or fall in love with a Republican, I admire her honesty. And I think I kind of understand where she's coming from. On my first date with my husband, I not only found out that he was a liberal Democrat and had political leanings as I did, but he was also a New York Yankee fan, which was very, very important. And as I told you before, he also liked Barbra, which was very, very important, because there's no way, think about it. Could you fall in love with somebody who didn't love Barbra too? You'd be constantly at odds. You'd have to hide your Barbra fixation from the person who's most important in your life. So, anyway, I know some of you do. And really, I give you credit, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. In fact, even when Leslie wants to give me a little agita, he knows just how to give it to me, because he goes right after Barbra. Because, he could criticize me. You don't like me, you don't like my pot roast, you don't like my politics, but don't you ever say you don't like Barbra. Anyway, I kid. We also heard from an extra interview that Barbra did. She talked about Robert Redford, and that they would still like to work together again, possibly still do a sequel to The Way We Were. Now, some people thought that was ridiculous. How could they possibly do a sequel to The Way We Were Now? Well, who's to say you can't do a sequel to The Way We Were Now just with Katie and Hubble as older people, as senior citizens? Maybe Katie finally got into politics. Maybe she's a senator. Maybe she's a very important political figure, and she's got some power, and she's very, very influential. Maybe Hubble finally got around to straightening out his life and became a successful author. And maybe they're brought together because of something that happens with their daughter. All these things are possible. I mean, I could write the script if they want to call me up. I have ideas, and I would gladly take time off to write the script for Barbara and Bob. Okay? Other things that came up. We found out more about how Barbara agreed to do the guilt trip, that Jason had some influence, and that Jason was recovering from back surgery. Now, we did know that Jason liked the script and convinced Barbara to do it, but we didn't know that when Barbara was visiting Jason talking about the script, Elliot Gould was there. So clearly, they were both there to take care of their son, but interesting. Elliot's always like on the fringes. He's always taken part. Barbara also talked a lot about Jim in some of these interviews, mentioning again how they love to take these road trips in their truck, and Barbara makes little sandwiches, and they go driving. And she did tell one funny story about they were staying in Las Vegas, and they were put up in this very, very beautiful, beautiful suite. And Barbara was being, kowtowed to. They were treating them like royalty. But they got to the suite and the refrigerator didn't work. And Barbara thought that was really pretty cheesy. And then the next night they were driving, and Jim said, "I'm going to take you somewhere." And he took her to a roadside motel, probably like a Comfort Inn or a Holiday Inn or something. And Barbara said it was great. It was $55 for the night. The refrigerator worked. The television worked. The bed was perfect. And that's where they spent the night. So I thought that was kind of cute. But all of these interviews are popping up on YouTube, and you should definitely see them. Speaking of YouTube, as I told you last week, there have been some wonderful, wonderful videos that they're doing for the guilt trip, that some show scenes from the movie, some show Barbara and Seth having done them recently, where it's more Barbra Streisand and Seth Rogen talking, that legend one where they're sitting on the couch together. Well, earlier this week, there was a great one that came out called Me. And what it is Barbara is sitting in the passenger seat, Seth is driving the car, and it says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Barbra Streisand and Seth Rogen in the guilt trip." And on the radio is playing the Duck Sauce song, Barbra Streisand. Well, the first time they do it, they go, "Barbra Streisand." The second time they get to that part of the song, Barbara goes, "Me!" It's hilarious. It is the funniest. It's only 18 seconds long, but it is such a funny a little commercial that I think it's brilliant. I really, really do. Also on YouTube, another wonderful thing that popped out, and this is like about 20 minutes long, it's what's called the B-roll, and it's like extra footage from the movie and behind the scenes type of stuff. Folks, you definitely want to see that. Oh, excuse me, folks. You definitely want to see that, because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It's you see Barbara working, you see Seth working, you see Ann Fletcher, Dan Fogelman, who's the writer. They're all on the set, they're all working. It's very, very, very funny, amusing stuff. And you also see stuff that didn't make it in the film. It's sort of on the cutting room floor, and you see how they filmed it, the green screen. And I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing, because when you see what it looks like, you'll say to yourself, how do they pretend so well that they're in a car and they're moving, when you could see how fakey it is when you're looking at on the outside looking in? But that's why they're good actors. That's why they're good actors. Now, on the subject of acting, one of the things that happened this past week is some of the nominations started coming out for the Screen Actors Guild Award and some other awards, and Guilt Trip is not getting recognized. And the one that was really, really bizarre was the Golden Globe. because most of us assumed that Barbra would get a Golden Globe nomination. The Golden Globes, the Hollywood foreign press, has been very, very generous and kind to her through the years. In fact, nobody's won more Golden Globes than Barbra Streisand. So Paramount apparently was so confident that Barbra would get nominated that they put up a little 30-second commercial for the guilt trip that said, and now including Golden Globe nominee Barbra Streisand in the guilt trip. The night before the Golden Globe nominations were announced, Wednesday night, that went up on YouTube on the Paramount Pictures channel, and everybody assumed that it was correct. But the following morning, when the Golden Globe nominations were announced, Barbra was not one of the 5 nominees for Best Actress, Musical or Comedy. It was, to say the least, highly embarrassing. And it put a big spotlight on the fact that Barbra wasn't nominated. It was so badly done. And what I understand is behind the scenes, Paramount flipped out. Somebody dropped the ball, because they really, they basically assumed the nomination, or somebody at the Hollywood foreign press leaked them information that turned out not to be true. So once again, this was just really, really bad timing, and it put a really, cast sort of a dark shadow on the guilt trip, which is really unfair. Because whether it's nominated or not doesn't change the fact that Barbra gives a fantastic performance. And whether or not the film gets, wonderful critical notices or not, it doesn't change the fact, I'm telling you, it's a terrific movie. And I think my review counts more than some of the people out there who claim to be film critics who are going to tell you that the movie isn't good enough. For example, Lisa Schwartzbaum in Entertainment Weekly gave the film a B-, which is still considered a positive review, like on other sites like Metacritic. But to me, that's not a good enough review, because to me, the film is at least a B+ or an A- on my scale. So take it for what it's worth, folks. But I just want to point this out. Whether or not the film does great at the awards, whether or not it gets great critical reception, that doesn't change the fact that the film exists. It's an excellent film. I mean, do you guys realize when other Barbra films came out, sometimes they didn't get any kind of attention? I mean, What's Up Doc was a big hit movie. It got no awards. Nothing. No Golden Globe nominations, no Oscar nominations, nothing. It was like completely ignored. After, Clear Day. Clear Day was like an orphan. You would think it might have gotten music, costumes, sets, color, editing, photography. Vincent Minnelli. Nothing. So awards are very, very, it's of the moment, and you don't know what people are thinking. So don't get hung up on that. Go see the movie. Enjoy the movie. I know you're going to love the movie, and that's all that matters. That really is all that matters when all is said and done. Now, that's my sermon of the day. But I want to get serious here for a moment, because the day after the Golden Globe faux pas, something very serious did happen. The shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, in which a gunman, apparently a deranged young man, got into an elementary school and shot a whole classroom of kindergarten children 5 years old. He actually killed, the death toll from this experience, from this incident, was 26, including the principal, the school psychiatrist, other teachers, other children. Senseless, ridiculous, horrible, horrible incident. My heart breaks for those people. But I bring this up for one particular reason. We have to have our priorities straight, folks. You know, what happened in Newtown was real. It was serious. It was worth shedding tears over. What happens with the fate of the guilt trip is really not important to the greater scope of our lives. It's just a movie. And I hope it does well, and I hope it makes a lot of people happy. I think it will. But the faux pas with the Golden Globes and the idea that all that was going to linger and somehow cast a pall over the film, no, it's not going to. We live in an age of the 24-hour news cycle. And the fact of the matter is, people will have forgotten about the Golden Globes by next week when the guilt trip opens, and that's a good thing. And after the horror of what happened in Connecticut, I recommend people go see a movie like The Guilt Trip to remind them about the humanity between people and how people can love each other and learn from each other and grow and change and be good to one another. So that's sermon number 2 for me today. Now, excuse me, that was my email coming in. I do want to tell you about something. Oh, yes, another major thing that happened last week was the opening of the Guilt Trip in Hollywood. And some of our friends actually got lucky enough to go see it, to get to the opening. Barbara was there with Jim, Roz was there, Jason was there, the Bergmans were there. Quite a few people showed up. Josh Brolin and Diane Lane were there. So Barbara had lots of family support at the opening of her movie, which I think is terrific. And there are some wonderful little clips, again on YouTube, that show Barbara coming in, being descended on by paparazzi, working the red carpet. Her and Seth wore a very nice 3-piece suit. He looked all dressed up for the occasion. But there's another spot where you can see Barbara, waving to the fans, calling to the fans, responding to the fans. It's all very, very, very positive. And it was nice to see. She did complain about the shoes. She didn't like having to wear the high heels. She doesn't like that part of being a star, but she was there nonetheless. So it was nice to see her back out at an opening, and it was nice to see that the whole crew was sort of there. Dan Fogelman was there, and Ann Fletcher. Ann Fletcher, by the way, said some wonderful things about Barbara. I wrote about it in my Examiner.com column, so please read it, because she said some great stuff about Barbara. And clearly, the one question nobody's asked is the one I'm kind of curious about, which is, what was it like directing a director? Because Barbara is a director, God knows we know that, and I wondered what Anne felt trying to direct Barbara, if Barbara ever wanted to direct her director, as we know that she's been rumored to like to do, although I don't think anybody told Willie Wyler how to direct. Now, it's 1834. I have one more big piece of news to share with you guys that I neglected to tell you last week, and I really feel remiss about it. Coming in February, there will be a remastered version of Classical Barbara that's going to include 2 previously unreleased tracks. One is Auf dem Wasser du Singen, which we heard Barbara do sort of a comical version of in Barbra Streisand and Other Musical Instruments. Well, this is the straight version. And it is more of an up-tempo song, though. And it's, I've heard a bootleg of it years and years ago. Hopefully this will be an even better cut than that, because she sounds fantastic on it. And the other is a song called An Sylvia. I've never heard this. Apparently this is quite a famous classical number, and it's been sitting in the vault. Now, a friend of mine, Robert Annan, he suggested that, when we were talking about Barbara signing her new contract with Sony, they mentioned 3 remastered albums. So he's wondering if Classical Barbara is just the first of possibly 2 more remastered albums. And if that's the case, I've got a great idea for them. They need to put out Je m'appelle Barbra, which was recorded all in French and all in English. But they only released one album, which included some of the French songs and some of the English songs, mostly the French-English versions of songs. But Barbra, as we know, there were like other songs that were not, that were like B-sides. Look, there was a song called Look that turned up on a B-side of a single. I would love to hear the complete Je m'appelle Barbra. And, it doesn't matter to me that this was never a big hit album, because it's such a good album. It's wonderful. And I would love to see that happen. So, Sony, if you're listening, Jay Landers, if you're listening, my vote is Je m'appelle Barbra, the complete French and English versions. And before I wrap it up, I just want to let you guys know that I think I've worked out the problems with the sync sound. I am now recording in a different format. Hopefully it's going to work, and hopefully I will be back in sync for the future, and we won't have any more problems. I am taking suggestions, as I told you last week, for anybody who has ideas about what new books I should do. And on the subject of books, you can still purchase your copy of, the book patch. I realize now the book patch is flipped in this version because I'm on a different system. But go to the book patch for Barbra Memories. And if you wish to make a donation to the Nothing's Impossible project, that is here. Oh, now it's really backwards. I can't, okay, well, maybe you can see through it. It says Nothing's Impossible project at blogspot.com. I really should have prepared that better. I'm sorry. Next week my production values will be better. As we get into 2013, I really would love to get some kind of a video camera and be able to go on remote outside of my office and be able to do videos around my house or outside or on location somewhere. If anybody has a suggestion of a good, inexpensive video camera that I could get that could film about 20 to 25 minutes without the need of a cassette or a disc or a battery, like extensive battery cable. I don't want something I have to hook up to the computer until I'm ready to upload it. Please send me your suggestions, okay? Because I'm not the technical whiz kid that you might think I am. Don't laugh. I know you guys are laughing at me. Okay, I'm not a technical whiz kid, but my heart's in the right place, and I do want to give you guys a more interesting Sunday with Ally in the future. So if you know of a good process, a good system, when they used to have those little flip phones. Now, of course, everybody's got iPhones and such, which can take video. I don't know if they can even take video though that's 20 to 25 minutes long, but we're going to look into that. In 2013, we are going to make some startling advances with Sunday with Ally. So until next week, this is Ally Waldman signing off for Sunday with Ally, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.